Yo, 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 what's poppin', all my peeps? It is I, your host with the most Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of all the peeps, Patty Pitts. Joined with me is the best, the best you cannot forget about Sarah Marshall for the Smackdown Breakdown. I think we're going to be naming this Smackdown Recap Show part of the Pitts and Sara Wrestling Show. Sarah, what's poppin', girl? How we doing?
We are doing, you know?
We're doing all right. Well, at
We're
least we're not
surviving.
nothing. At least
We're
we're
alive.
doing. Well,
We're
that's good.
breathing. Mm-hmm.
It's good
Yup.
that you're here. We're good. We're back to talk about the great show that was SmackDown last night. And
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous at first with all the Vince stuff going on. I did have a little bit of nerves there. What's up, Freddie? About the product moving forward, but then it was reported, I think, a couple hours before SmackDown, or that day at least, that they were going to have an all talent meeting before the
Mm-hmm.
show. And it was
Mm-hmm.
stated that at the all talent meeting, that Triple H said, listen, this is all business. Okay. What he's doing has nothing to do with you guys. It is not a creative thing, which, Sarah, I will say, I said from the jump, is that it is just going to be business. He just wants to sell this company, his share, to get to make sure he got something from his baby instead of passing it down. And at this point, he just wants to do that, take his money, and leave. And I agree, Freddie. And the only reason I would say it sucks, and from my point of view now, is that it's not staying in the family. Um,
Yeah.
that's the only, I think, issue I would say
Mm.
of this whole thing. Now that it's pretty much, of course, Vince is not going to go back to creative. I'm sorry. I know everyone wants to talk about it, and a lot of big name people want to report about it, but he's just not. It's just not what he does. You know what I mean? And at this point, like, the product's too good to
Yeah, but see,
logistically, and he's
the
getting
thing
sued.
is,
So
I'm gonna reiterate it though. Like none of this matters to him though. Like he doesn't necessarily view it this way. Because if he did, then he would have made massive changes years ago when people were talking about the women's division being bathroom break time or when they
yeah,
weren't selling out pay-per-views, you know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I think that the reason that people were concerned other than the rumor of the Saudi place buying it. I think that it was like you don't really know what Vince's intentions are because he's capable of anything. So it's like you can't rule out any scenario where he might decide, you know what? Yeah, I am going to go back and I'm going to be a part of the creative team, or I'm going to hire people that will do what I want them to do, or fire the people I want to fire. Like so, it's nice that Triple H did that and had that meeting, and that obviously it then translated to being leaked to everybody else. But I'm still like, you feel a little more comfortable now knowing that the sale was apparently not legitimate, but I'm still
yes.
just like trying to be prepared for the unexpected to happen because
You
I'm
have to
not.
prepare yourself. I agree with that, though. You
Yeah.
have to prepare yourself for it because you can't just go around, you know,
I would and I
blissfully
would like
thinking ignorance is bliss. I mean,
yeah, and I would like to think that maybe he'll, I don't know, maybe get some insight from more people about what to do or who to sell to, or like what's a good idea, what's not a good idea. Like I don't know if that's actually going to be something, but I mean, he has worked with Nick Khan, so I would like to think that like he values his opinion to some sort. So
I would
I
agree.
would
Yeah,
like to think that there can be some sort of influence by people who are trusted within the company, not just by people that Vince trusts, just universally. I would like to think that he'll involve them or at least respect what they have to say so that he won't make like a giant mistake. Like the clear mistake that would have been selling to the Saudi place, whatever. I don't remember
agree.
what it was called, but
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really care to know, to be honest with you. But yeah, it's good. Okay, and the product was good. The show was great. and we're gonna break it down for you today. All right, that's what the
Mhm.
Smackdown breakdown is all about. So, Sarah, let's kick things off with breaking it down
Mhm.
with the monster among men
I know.
and our favorite guy,
Mhm.
Gunther.
I know. It's funny, you know that they, like, also have his name in all capitals? I was like, "Is this just, like, part of his character that it's just
When you
in
say the
capital
name, you
letters?"
gotta yell it.
But see, like, you know, and it's funny because you sent me that video, and I'm like, Walter is such a cooler name. Like, I mean, Gunther. When I think of Gunther, and I know that's not how they say it, I think of Friends. Like, I just think of the guy that works at the coffee shop. That's what I think of. But also, I think it's because they haven't collectively figured out how they want people to pronounce it. So it's like it's Gunther, it's Gunther, it's like I don't know. It's like Gunta. It's like what is it? Like at least with
How do
Walter,
you
it's like,
say
okay,
your name?
yeah, it's just like, you know, I don't know. Walter is an easy, straightforward name. Like Walter, okay. I don't know. I just feel like it's kind of a weird transition to a different name because it's not like he had like a super sound like wrestling sounding name. You know, like a lot of the people in the indies will have a very
Yeah, like Chris Hero.
stereotypical wrestling name.
Yeah, like
And
Chris Hero, or yeah.
yeah, something like that. And so it's like kind of weird that they had him transition to Gunther, but whatever. So anyway, they got popping
A
really
lot of
quick.
time.
Braun Strowman versus Gunther for the IC title. I have to, of course, give a shout out to Imperium for having one of the best entrances in wrestling because I just love their entrance. I know that it was Walter's entrance, but I'm just
I don't
glad that
care
we're,
whose
you know,
entrance it
still
is.
seeing it.
It's fucking
Um,
incredible.
I thought that it was actually a pretty decent match. Obviously, pretty good by Gunther as always, but I felt like this was a really good match for Braun too, which
Oh yeah.
I I think it kind of forced him to do more in the ring than the typical like, oh, I'm just a big man and I just like throw people around, or you know, he was loving the match that he had with Omos and was like, it's just two big men like slapping me,
Big meat
but
man slapping
yeah,
meat.
but it was like it forced him to have to do more in the ring because even though Gunther is like a bigger guy, that's not how he wrestles. Like he actually is like a technical wrestler. So I felt like it kind of forced Braun to step out of his comfort zone and what we normally see from him. So I do have to give him some applause because I felt like this seemed like one of his better matches in quite some time.
I would agree. It's nice to see him go against a bigger guy,
Mhm.
but and not have it just be your stereotypical, car crash essentially. They
Yeah.
had a nice wrestling match. Gunther is someone who can do that now, and honestly, I see being a multiple time WWE champion like very soon.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So the fact that he can have these sort of matches with a guy like Braun Strowman, yeah, it helps Braun out, obviously, but like it also helps out Gunther for the future with
Yeah.
Imperium. I mean, just imagine, obviously it wouldn't be the same type of deal, but wrestling repeats itself. Have Imperium hold all the belts, you
I know,
know?
I kind of would like to see them in
Why
more
not?
matches. I'd like to see them wrestle more because I mean, I know that I'm biased a
Well,
little bit
yeah.
because I like them as a team, but like I feel we haven't really been able to see either of them wrestle as a lot, and um we also haven't been able to see Vinci wrestle a lot, and he was like a weekly guy in NXT. So
Yeah.
and he's like kind of a high flyer, which is not something that
Really?
either of them do. I mean, he does spots off the top rope quite often. So
Interesting. I'll have to
he's
look that up. Okay.
agile. He's agile, you know.
Mhm.
So I would like to see that more. I think that it's cool that they come out and they're with Gunther, whatever, but I feel like they deserve to have some match time too, you know, and not just being like interfering in Gunther's matches. Like we need to kind of see more of that because then otherwise why are they supposed to be feared, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, because you gotta fear them. They're one of those factions where they're not getting over with catchphrases and
Yeah.
crowd engagement. They want to be. They're the closest thing to ass kickers, I would
Mhm.
say, when it comes to a faction. Like, imagine them going up against the Hurt Business. I'm putting that in. I'm putting
Yeah,
that in
I
the dream
mean, they're on
matches.
different
Okay.
brands, but still.
Survivor Series War Games. Boom. You're welcome.
Um,
Anyway,
so Gunther wins, obviously retains the championship. But I was kind of curious about your opinion on the ending, because I didn't have a problem with how it ended necessarily with the power bomb from like the top rope or whatever, but I felt like I don't know if that was like supposed to be the ending. It just felt like kind of really, I don't know. I just felt awkward. Like the timing was awkward, or it just like was like a weird sequence that kind of just wasn't as exciting. I don't know, but I mean, like I said, the ending I think was fine. Like having him do the power bomb with Strowman on the turnbuckle, but
yeah,
it just kind of felt like a slow ending, like an anticlimactic ending.
I agree. I will say I was shocked that he pinned him clean and there was no help from the Imperium, which I thought
Well, they
about
did
it.
get involved at one point, but
Really?
Imperium did, yeah.
Okay. I also was
Yeah,
on
he
a
dropped my man on the side of the ring. It was sad.
oh, um yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I liked it. I thought it was just like short in a way, but I didn't mind it, because I just pictured him winning anyways, kind of felt like he was going to win anyways.
Yeah.
So, I was just expecting that moment to happen.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know where he goes from here. I don't know. I don't think you can continue this. Like let Braun and Ricochet just be a tag team or whatnot. Let Braun show his personality a little bit and get him developed there. I don't know where Gunther goes. I've been hearing reports he's taking on Lesnar at Mania, so can't
I
wait
know,
for
and
that.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Why
Like,
not?
when you hear it, you're like, "Okay, that's gonna," well, because they're so different and, like, dominant in different ways. Like, I just don't know if that would be a good match. Like, I don't think it would be bad, but I just don't know. When I think about matches that I would love to watch again, like, I couldn't tell you a match off the top of my head, or any that I've ever thought of, that has Brock Lesnar in it.
Kurt Angle, Brock Lesnar, Iron Man, SmackDown.
Okay, but when's that from? 2004?
That was probably the last time he
But
was
that's what I
able
mean. Like,
to do matches like that.
we have to talk about current Brock Lesnar, 2023 Brock
No, I
Lesnar. Like,
agree. I agree. I'm saying that could be the bridge though, where people are like, oh, can he actually go the distance with Gunther and have that type of match again? I think Gunther would be the closest
but
thing to an Angle
I mean,
comparison.
I guess, but that's also like 19 years ago. Like, I don't think there's anyone being like, if Hulk Hogan wrestled tonight, he's just gonna have to wrestle like
No,
he
yeah,
did in
yeah, yeah, I agree.
1984. Like,
It's a
he
little
can't.
different. I think it's a little
Yeah,
different.
a little, I guess. But I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm kind of confused. I think SmackDown in general is kind of in a weird spot right now, and I was gonna get into this. I'll get into it a little bit more
Mhm.
when we talk about a different part. But I feel like even when we're talking about this, like, they're as good as Gunther is, he isn't feuding with anybody right now, and it's like, but why is he not? Especially since Roman is not defending his titles. So it's basically like what we were saying on Raw, where the US title has become the title on Raw because the championship is never being defended. So on SmackDown, that's become the Intercontinental Championship. And as
Mhm.
great as it is to see Gunther in these matches and defending the championship all the time, it's not really as interesting when he's not actually feuding with anybody. So
That's the thing. Who
I
would he feud with next?
I don't know, but at least have him have a feud and not
No,
just be
give
like,
a
"Oh,
guess.
yeah, like, put him with Braun."
No, give a guess. Who do you think? Like, give me a name.
Um, I don't know. I would have to look at, like, the SmackDown roster. I can't think about this off the top of my head. I'm gonna look it up.
What about
SmackDown.
Kofi?
Yeah, but he's a tag team champion right now. I feel like,
The New Day. Okay.
um
Biggie when he comes back. That's the return.
yeah, but that's like what? He can't it's like a checkup, a 1-year checkup in March. That doesn't mean he's coming back in March. Um Let's see. Oh my goodness.
Talk about fantasy matchups. I just made some good ones right there. Proud of me.
Um, AJ's on Raw, but that could have been a good one.
AJ
AJ
Styles Gunther
Styles.
would slap so hard.
Yeah, too bad he's on Raw. Um, all of these people are on
What about
Raw.
Pete Dunne, Butch?
Well, yeah, isn't that the match that you sent me? Yeah.
Exactly. Let's
So
run it
yeah, that
back.
could be good. But then again, they're doing the Brawling Brutes thing. So it's like,
Dun-dun.
you
Yeah,
know,
it's
it's like I
true.
don't know what is going on there.
Mm,
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like he has like really limited options at this point, which is kind of unfortunate because I think a lot of people want to see him doing these matches and are entertained enough, even if they're not like a big fan of his. If you appreciate good wrestling, then you want to see him,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. I agree.
Um, but anyway, I'll have to come. Oh, Giovanni Vinci. He's just staring into my soul here. Okay.
Giovanni Vinci.
So then we see a backstage segment, which, you know, I don't normally need to bring up all of these backstage segments, but I felt like these ones were kind of
Yeah,
important
bring up the
enough.
important ones. I like that.
So Sammy goes to the backstage area. He finds the Bloodlines dressing room, knocks on the door, and Paul Heyman comes out. He's looking for the Bloodline so that they can like discuss strategy, is what he said, because Sammy was facing Kevin Owens in the main event, and Paul Heyman says no, they were sent home. Roman said, you know, you got this. You don't need them. Blah blah blah. And so, um, Sammy was a little bit upset about that. And eventually he ends up buying what Paul Heyman said. And the most noticeable thing that I took from this, which I'm sure you
Mm,
caught it too, was once Sammy walked away, Heyman's smile went away and it was immediately like to disgust and like annoyance. So again, like
yeah,
I've said already, I feel like it's another Easter egg. It's another planted seed that something is going on, and it continues through the main event, which we'll get there later. But yeah, I noticed that and I was like, what does it all mean? What does it
Hey,
all mean?
what do you
You know?
mean? What do
So
you mean?
what do you think?
Oh, it's absolutely setting up a riff, and that was an Easter egg where it's like, oh, he's gonna turn the bloodlines turned on Sammy. It's about to come. There's no one coming to his aid. Heyman's making
Mhm.
these facial expressions, but then I'll get to it. Obviously, I don't want to spoil the surprise, but the main event changed my thought process of that.
Okay. See, and
Because at
I feel
first
like
I
it's
was,
still it goes along with my feelings. So, um
oh really?
yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there.
Okay,
Um
interesting. Okay,
okay, so there was just that little moment there. Then we get a Rey Mysterio in-ring promo. He talks about I feel like it's kind of weird that he's like just now addressing the holiday debacle between him and
oh, that was
Dominic.
bizarre.
Yeah,
Bizarre.
I felt like it was like it's a few weeks too late considering it happened on Christmas and we're talking on January 13th. Like, are we really having him talk about this right now? Of all times. But anyway, so he comes out, says the holidays mean a lot to him, but that he's sick of Dominic ruining them and just, you know, now thinking that he's like hardcore because he went to prison and whatever.
Went to a dunk
Um,
tank, like basically.
Karrion Kross and Scarlett come out. Cross gets on the mic and mocks him for being an older performer and said the years have not been kind to him, and then implies that Ray was not a good father because he was busy pursuing his WWE career. And that's why Dominic is the way that he is. And then they get into a little fight. Cross chokes him out. And then Scarlett also gets involved and they leave him with a tarot card. So prolonging their feud. But it's interesting that it's almost like their feuds, like the denominator of their feud is Dominic. It's kind of interesting.
Well, it's like, yeah, it is interesting. Well, because at this point, it's like, what else can you feud with, and how else can you connect Karrion Cross to Rey Mysterio? So it's just like the easy way out, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But the older wrestler comments and like that, it's setting up that passing of like, I don't know. My point is that it's going to be a good feud between
Mm-hmm.
them, and I like this I don't want to say supernatural, but there is kind of a supernatural element to Scarlet and Cross, obviously.
Yeah.
This is going to be interesting when it comes into connecting it with the Judgment Day, because I have a feeling that's inevitable for them to connect it with the Judgment Day. The only way you would do that is at a show like WrestleMania. And I feel like you can build this up to WrestleMania if that is your type of payoff that you are trying to accomplish. So I'm fine with this feud right now. I thought this was weird that they're hyping a matchup for 2 weeks, or before the Rumble. So that was
Mhm.
weird to me. But other than that, I see the big picture, or at least grasp the concept of it. So I'm sitting on it. I'm not disappointed with it by any means.
Yeah, I think we have to see how it plays out. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like I'm interested but like not invested in it
Hmm.
yet. Um and I think that's fair to say. I feel like that's just kind of how it is a lot of the time, unless it's a very obvious feud that everybody has been wanting. This is just kind of like, okay, yeah, like they're both on SmackDown, let's see how this goes. But um then I didn't have a whole lot to say, but then it's on the next match. But I had a couple comments. So it's Tegan Knox versus Xia Li. Um First I was a little confused. I didn't know it was Xia Li because she looked much different. But I don't mean this in any sort of way, but I was not a fan of her entrance at all. I felt like it was very corny. I don't know if anyone agrees, but her doing all those moves and stuff, like ha, yeah, ha. I was just like, okay, we get it, but like at the same time, it just like didn't come off authentic to me. Like it just kind of felt like, I don't know, just like
Right?
trying. Like, it was just like trying too hard. I don't know. It was like,
Why?
because I don't remember her doing that other times that she's been on SmackDown.
What? Well,
Um
I don't know. I just
yeah, I don't know. When I was watching
to
it, I
me,
was
it's
like, this is
whatever. It's
kind of,
part of the show. Like I
it
don't
was just kind
really.
of weird to me.
All right.
So it wasn't a super long match, but it was a good way to get Knox, slowly integrated back into wrestling. But then this is what I wanted to talk about a little bit earlier, that when I was saying SmackDown has some kinks to be worked out, and I think their women's division needs to be
Yeah,
worked out. I think,
definitely does.
yeah, because when you really think about the women's division on SmackDown, I think you mostly think Charlotte at this
And that's
point.
like a week.
And that's it. And yeah, she's only been back for 2 weeks. And like, okay, my TV is on. So if you see these like random, like really bright flashes, it's because my TV's on.
Right, right.
Um, so anyway, I was reading about other people's opinions on it as well, and they feel like, yeah, Triple H has gotten a lot of credit for what he has done since taking over creative, but there is a discrepancy there when it comes to the SmackDown women's division. And I'm curious to see how he addresses it, because I don't know. It's hard because obviously Raw is stacked, but it's possible too that we've been talking about Alexa and her getting back with Bray. It's possible we see her switch to SmackDown, because they're not going to switch Bray from SmackDown. They need him on SmackDown. So we
Oh
could
yeah.
see her switched to SmackDown, which helps for sure. But I feel like they definitely need like another big name there. And that's where I feel like it would be great if like Naomi's back or Sasha comes back.
Mhm.
Sasha's not coming back at the Rumble at least, but well, it's rumored that she might, but I don't know. But yeah, I feel like they need
She
like
returns to
another,
Mercedes Monet.
I've always thought that was so interesting, if like some people who left and went on and did their own thing and went by their real name. Like I was thinking, like, what if Paige ever came back? Like, would she come back as Paige, or would she come back as
Raya.
Soraya? And like,
Or Soraya, my bad.
like, I just wonder, because it's like in WWE, it's like we all know that that's not their real name. It's like their stage name, but we're also not in the dark that, she's now in AEW and going by her real name. So it's like, if she were to come back and be like, oh yeah, I'm Paige, it would be like, no, you're not. So it's
Like
like, I
Brian
always wondered
Danielson
that.
too.
Yeah. Well, and at least his names are just inverted.
Ooh,
Um,
Beantown Breakdown has a question about the SmackDown breakdown before we get transition into our next topic.
okay.
Sarah, who is the better creative team, WWE
I
or AEW? And
I
you're
can't really speak to that because I don't watch
yeah.
AEW enough. But I know that in AEW
Yeah,
that they do have a lot more control over their own like character development and storylines and stuff like that than necessarily WWE. But the problem that I say is like we don't know all of the ins and outs of what's going on in WWE with Triple H taking over, because I think if I were to talk about, the WWE creative right now, my mind automatically reverts back to how things were with Vince. And it was like, okay, Vince was just like, this is what you're doing. This is what you're going to, say. This is how you're going to win. This is how you're going to lose. That like you didn't have any say in it at all. And I don't believe that's how things are with Triple H, but we don't know because it hasn't been that long and we haven't heard anybody come out speaking against what he's saying. We had years and years and years of wrestlers that left WWE to talk about the inner workings of the creative team and the things they didn't like and what Vince said to them. But I feel like I don't know if there's necessarily one that's better than the other. I think it just depends on like what you enjoy, what wrestlers you enjoy, and what you're interested in. Yeah, I don't know. And like I said, I'm not a AEW watcher, so it's hard for me to speak from that type of direction, if that makes any sense.
Well, Sarah, the champ could talk about that because I do watch both shows, obviously, and sometimes, depending on the day, I may lean towards AEW for which show I prefer. When it comes to their creative teams, it's a little different because is kind of what you alluded to. It's not what you're going to say. It's all right. This is what you're doing, and this is how you have to go about it. Where in AEW, because the EVPs and a lot of the higher up people are wrestlers who perform, I would say, if not weekly, but at least monthly. They have a lot of power, and when they were you know moving up or growing up in the business, it was independent. They had to come up with their own lines, and they had to have it essentially written down, but at least with their whoever they were opposing that night. So that's the way AEW, I would say, runs more, whereas WWE, it's a lot more intricate because they want to do a lot more when it comes to like long term storytelling and the ins and outs, and it's more of a show, like an actual entertainment show rather than a wrestling event. So, all right, what's
Agreed.
the next thing we got on tap, Sarah?
We got a wonderful Viking Raiders
Oh
vignette.
my god, I lost it at this. This was so fucking funny.
I honestly I fast forwarded. So I just said Viking Raiders get a vignette that nobody cares about. That's
Yeah,
literally what
no,
it says in the
usually
note.
I'm someone who is like, "Oh no, you got to watch it in case of this." No, Sarah, I'm
No,
with
I
you,
fast
girl.
forwarded.
I don't
Yeah,
blame you. I watch it cuz I'm a sucker for pain, so
you're a masochist.
I'm a masochist.
Yeah, I'm still kind of confused about what's going on with them or why they think that they're interesting enough that anyone is actually caring to see what they're doing. But um I mean, they're trying, but I feel like they had that one match. We saw Sarah Logan or whatever her new name is, and it was like then they went off.
Valhalla.
We don't care. Um,
Okay.
but then she was like, then they were off TV for a few weeks, and now they're back to getting vignettes, and I'm just like, literally no one cares. Like nobody cares. But then this plays into the following segment, which they're apparently sticking with Sheamus and Drew being a tag team, which I feel like is just kind of like
It's all
what's
right.
going on
Yeah.
here. Because I liked the Brawling Brutes. I liked the three of them. um and so now I'm like, are you just not sure what to do with Drew? And that's why you're just like, okay, he's a Scottish man, so stick him with the Irish guy.
Can you do that
Like,
again, please? Can you do your
no,
Scottish accent again?
no.
Come
And
on, give
so,
the people what they want.
but then this is something too. Apparently they're calling them the Banger Bros. And I just feel like that sounds like a prawn name. And I don't know why they went with that, but it sounds like a website that, lots of people visit probably on a daily basis. And I don't know.
drive around
you
in a
know.
van, you know,
It's just yeah, it just, it reminds me of like
picking up bands in the street. Okay.
remember yeah, remember when what was it? It was Paige. Remember when they had that group and they named it something and then they had to change it because they realized there was like a whole prawn series?
Oh, with what were they called?
Yeah.
Retribution? No,
No, it was like something to do with like submissions or whatever. I don't know. But anyway, so
I'm
like
looking
that
at
just
it was
kind of
Mandy Rose, Sonya Deville, and Paige.
so that reminded me of
Which is
that. And I
funny
was
that
just like, I feel like someone
yeah.
could have come up with a better name. So anyway, they argued over wanting to fight the Viking Raiders or the Usos, and they were talking to Adam Pearce. Pierce said that there will be a tag team tournament starting next week where the winners will get a match against the Usos. So Sheamus and Drew will be in the first match or in one of the matches next week, and they will be fighting the Viking Raiders. So all of us who have been long awaiting another match. Oh, the submission sorority. It was something like that. Yeah. It was something like that.
Absolution. Fire and Desire.
No, that wasn't what it was.
Oh, I'm
Fire and
looking
Desire
at it.
was Mandy
A
and
trio called Absolution.
okay, I don't know. But anyway, where was I? Okay, so the Sheamus and Drew will get the Viking Raiders in the first match, and so I'm like so excited. Not really. But anyway, let's go on to something that we actually enjoy, and that's Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt made his entrance. He sat in the ring in a rocking chair and just spoke to the masses. I have some quotes that he did say. He said, "Sometimes all it takes is a little push in the right direction to remind you who you really are. I am the color red in a world full of black and white. I am the eater of worlds. I am Uncle Howdy. I am him." And he says, "I know who I am, but who are you?" So I say he cut a promo, declares himself, that he is Uncle Howdy, which I think some people see what this kind of plays into what I've been saying, right? So
I
I think
did
some
think of
people,
this as soon as
yeah,
because I said I saw something that said what I am him and all that. And I was
yeah.
like, that's what she would say.
So people, I think, were taking him like a little bit too literally. Like I think they were literally like, "Oh, he's saying he's Uncle Howdy." Well, obviously he's not Uncle Howdy when you see them both in the ring. But see, this is the theory that I have that might be the direction that they go in. That like Uncle Howdy is not a real person, but just
Howdy,
a
howdy, howdy.
part of what Bray is fighting. Because if you've noticed, also he's not touched anyone but Bray. So that also makes it seem like, okay, well, maybe
Intelligent of
we're
you.
what?
That's intelligent of you, I said.
Oh, yes. So that's another, layer to this whole storyline that is interesting. What?
Beantown breakdown. Oh, the wrong. He did say that.
Mhm.
But we are in on Howdy, as you can tell from that
Mhm.
comment.
Mhm.
And he loves Uncle Howdy's and the theme song. I want and okay, so I'm glad you brought this up, BTBD. Is the theme song that Uncle Howdy has is very similar to a wrestler from Ring of Honor, Vincent. And that is someone who a lot of people are speculating he is Uncle Howdy.
Mhm.
Which obviously I'm not going to sit here and say I know a lot about Ring of Honor. I just know what Tony Khan showed me. But if this is right and if this is the guy everyone says he is, from what I've seen, he would be a great fit. A great fit in the Wyatt Six or Wyatt family, whatever you want to fucking call them.
Yeah, I think that at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if they're not exactly clear with what direction they want to go in. And that's why that might be why, to some extent, that we haven't seen who the Uncle Howdy is. But in a way, I'm kind of like it. Like, I feel like unless it's going to be a really shocking reveal, I kind of like that we're still anticipating and trying to figure it out and coming up with these different theories, because sometimes that's actually more fun than getting what you want. And you want right now is to see who it is. Sometimes it's more fun to speculate and like get excited about like, okay, what's he going to do now and whatever. So I still like my possible theory that it's actually nobody. But
Oh, I that might be one of my favorite theories of wrestling you've said. That
oh,
was
really?
because it's very it,
Psychological.
it's very psychological. It's very this era, this new age
Mhm.
style where it's for the fans. You know,
Mhm.
it's that well, I don't want to say layer, but it's that element to the show that you would have not seen,
Mhm.
in the early 2000s, 90s, but you had to see that. It's very good. Like, oh, that
I
would be
also
incredible.
I feel like it also plays well into this character that Bray is, because this
Yeah.
is something that he's wanted to do, and that's why the character is the way that it is, because I think that was part of the deal of bringing him back, was that he was going to have more creative control again. And so if this is what he's doing, I feel like that plays a lot into what like we said a million times, the psychological aspect of his character right now. And it's something that we've never seen before, and right now it's not corny. I feel like if they've ever tried to do something like this before, it kind of just doesn't feel real. It's more supernatural and just like you don't buy it. But he's so good at talking and convincing you of what he's saying and like making you think, that I feel, in that aspect of like, I've mentioned it before, of the like fighting the demons in your head and like trying to overcome these thoughts and feelings. I feel like it's a lot of stuff that people can actually relate to. And so then if Uncle Howdy is somehow revealed to be like, no, he's not a real person, that's just me like actively fighting off these bad thoughts and whatever, or my past, that's even a deeper way for people to be able to relate to the situation. And
Yes.
goes so well, as you said, with the direction that they're going in, and it's just a lot more intriguing than had this possibly been tried to be done like 15 years ago. I think that's when it
Yeah.
would have been like super corny.
Oh, it would have been too corny to the point where people don't get it.
Yeah.
They don't. They're not. There's no window in that box that they're in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and what you say, I will say I'm learning talk about relating to people and whatnot. I'm currently on my own little self discovery and whatnot with the new year, like everyone is, and I'm trying to do answer some questions about like why do I like this or why do I do this or stuff
Mhm.
like that. And one
Mhm.
of the reasons is like why do I love Bray so much as a wrestler? Like why do I put him in my top 5 when guys like The Rock, Kevin Owens, and the showy guys, LA Knight, would
Mhm.
are up there, but Bray Wyatt is right there, and it's because he is, I would say, the symbol of wrestling fans dealing with shit that they just don't know how to explain.
Mhm.
He's someone that is dark and I would say be considered evil or heelish in the wrestling world, but he's not.
Mhm.
And everything's just like I'm not hurting you, I'm not doing this to you, and that's someone who's dealing with shit,
Yeah.
on a personal, like
Yeah.
someone that's like in a relationship or a friend who constantly hurts their friend by bailing on them or other human relation things.
Or
It's
even, like, in his case, losing your dream. Like, your
losing
dream
your
is
dream.
taken
Absolutely.
from you. Yeah. So I think the realness factor is probably one of the more interesting parts, because I think although he is playing a character and it's been reiterated all over, the internet and whatnot, I think that there is parts of what we're hearing him say, or when he talks about things that he's been through in his life, that he is pulling from his real life, that it's not just, oh, I'm just going to put this in there because it sounds good. It's like, no, he's
Yeah.
pulling that from like his own emotions and his own experiences. And so I think that it's nice to see that, because there used to be times in wrestling where there were storylines that were super relatable, but more often than not, it's an act. It's just, this is a good story, this is a good character, no one really cares if it's relatable or not. But I like that if this is going to be something that they're going to try and implement more into the weekly shows, I like that it's starting with Bray, because it's going really well. And I think people are interested, even if they don't understand what he's saying or they don't necessarily relate to what he's saying. It's still interesting enough that you have to keep watching.
He said follow the buzzards, I think, a decade ago, and I'm still on trying to understand what that means, but I'm like, yeah, follow the buzzards. I'm with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's the
Well,
thing. He just says things and you don't get it, but you're like, that resonates, that hits. And it's
well, and in some ways it's stuff that like and it reminds me, and this is totally it's not related, but it is related. One of my favorite bands, and people are probably going to roast me, is Panic at the Disco, and a lot of their early albums,
that's not a bad
especially,
choice.
a lot of people have judged me since I started liking them that
Well,
they're a terrible
there's a
band.
lot
So,
worse choices than Panic at the Disco. Brendan Urie's a
well,
savage.
yeah, oh yeah, no, he's really good. So anyway, like their first two albums, let's say specifically, totally different sounding albums, but two of my favorite albums of all time. You have no idea what they're saying or what any of what they're saying is like what it means, because in a lot of ways they're speaking metaphorically or whatnot. And it's like, so you really enjoy it, you're interested, and you try to figure it out. But I feel like even in this scenario, it's like you might not understand what he's saying on a surface level, but he does speak metaphorically, and he does use words or terms or sayings that have deeper meaning. It's like even the buzzards, there's probably a deeper meaning to what a buzzard is or like what it represents. Just like, a dove can represent like peace and joy or whatever. There might be something there. And I kind of feel like that's what this whole thing is right now. Like there's deeper meaning. I mean, this goes hand in hand. So he does say that he will experience a rebirth at the Royal Rumble. And when the QR code popped up,
I lost it.
It was a picture of the Fiend. So
it was a pic. Oh yeah, the video.
Yeah, or a video. It was the Fiend popped up when you scan the QR code. So, who knows what that means? They've been toying with all of this anyway. Like even when they've been showing, when Bray's thing like will pop up, like you even saw last week, or even it might have been yesterday or on this week. Oh my goodness, Remy.
What's up,
Um,
Kitty?
you saw Wyatt family Bray with his hat and his like Hawaiian style shirt. So there's been
Bray.
hints here and there of, former selves of Bray. So yeah, I think it's going to be interesting, and I'm really excited to see the match at the Royal Rumble, because we all don't really know exactly how this pitch black match is going to go and what it's going to look like.
I'll make a prediction right now, and this is for the YouTube clip that I eventually will cut.
Okay.
The pitch black match, I want this on record for when I'm right.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be one of two things. One, House of Horrors type of thing where it's what's the word I'm looking for?
Sorry,
like pre-taped.
Sorry, okay. I couldn't hear you.
Okay, so the pitch black match is going to go one of two ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's either going to be a pre-taped little skit in a way where it's like the House of Horrors thing, Final Deletion, all that.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're going to get a match where it's the Bray Wyatt lighting.
Oh, yeah.
When we get spots of, I would say, bigger moments, OMG moments for my 2K fans, that we'll see that weird spotlight come out. And, maybe in the match, because it's pitch black, you don't know where you are. Are you in the ring? Are you in the crowd?
Mm-hmm.
Hear me out, because this is kind of out there. But what if we get, like, the Fiend popping up in the crowd where LA Knight tries to go and get Bray Wyatt, but he hits the Fiend. He goes up and tries to go punch him or do a move, and, oh, it's the pig.
Yeah, that would be pretty cool.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you could do a lot of shit with this.
Well, and that's why I was saying when we talked about it last time, that it seems there could be anything could happen. Uncle Howdy could pop up. We could see Alexa at some point, because if it's dark, there could be things under the ring. There could be people planted anywhere. Like, you really don't know. And I feel like that adds like a cool element to that match. Although people are, we're already like, okay, how's this going to go? Like, this is the first ever pitch black match. Like, what can they do? So, of course we have to go on and
Raw
talk
GM
about
could
Bray
be
Wyatt
under the
for
ring
like
too.
20 minutes. Huh?
The Raw GM could be under the ring. Do you get that joke?
Yeah.
There it is.
So, moving on to Kevin Owens. He was interviewed backstage, and Sami Zayn decided to come in and was like, "What are you doing? Why are you here? Why are you like so obsessed with me?" Is basically like what he was saying, saying that he won't leave him alone. And Owens was like, "You know what? Everything that has happened has been because of Roman. You need to stop like putting that blame on me. I didn't have, I didn't come to SmackDown. You guys came to Raw, ran your mouth. I responded. I didn't want the tag match with Cena against you and Roman. Roman wanted that match. I didn't want to face you tonight. That was Roman." So again, this is another thing where I'm like planting the seeds. But what I like is we're seeing, maybe the beginnings of the ending for Sammy with the bloodline. But I like that Kevin is still involved because it's like
Have to.
I'm curious to see how far that goes. If it's going to be like he's in it till the end and it's going to be something where Sammy and Kevin Owens like team up together to turn on the bloodline or to do something, you know what I'm saying? Like, whereas before it didn't seem like that, but because Kevin keeps popping up and he even like came out to like defend Sammy when he was being obliterated in the ring, and when Kevin asked for the match at the Rumble, it almost is like, okay, what are we doing? Like, so I feel like that adds a bit of an exciting part because I think everybody really does love, KO and Sammy together.
Oh, it's lightning in a bottle. I mean, do you remember their feud with Shane McMahon? That was all
Their
time.
feud, well, even their feuds together, like that was some of the most
Oh,
iconic matches in NXT during that era. So,
absolutely. Oh, I couldn't agree more. There's just some people in wrestling where I think the phrase is like your wrestling soulmate or your ring soulmate,
mhm.
whatever it is.
Yeah,
And that's them too. It's just
yeah,
they were sometimes it's your best friend growing up or whatever the case was for them. When we interview them, we'll ask. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's every time they get together, it's gonna be an incredible piece of content, match, backstage
mhm.
segment, whatever it is.
Yeah. So I'm like really excited to see the direction in which that goes because I feel that this could mean that maybe at some point Owens is the one that wins and gets the titles, or one of them, or Sammy eventually is, which I would love for Sammy to be the one that ends the streak for Roman. Like, I just feel like that would just be like, I don't know. It would have to be like one of the best moments in wrestling history, honestly, because of everything that has led up to him joining the bloodline and then being an official member of the bloodline and everything that he's had to deal with since then. And then eventually he decrowns the tribal chief. Like, I feel like that are right there is like match of the night. We haven't even gotten to WrestleMania yet. That's like that has 5 stars written all over it, and not
Oh
like
yeah.
Dave Meltzer
No,
5 stars, like us 5 stars.
us.
So
We are the bar.
yes. Okay. Claudio Castagnoli.
I love
Um,
him
so do I.
so
I
much.
have a big crush on him. So, I don't know if he's. I don't know if he's single. He was dating that one lady that was in NXT. I can't remember her name. She was a trainer.
Oh, I don't know that much.
Anyway,
Okay. Yeah.
he might be just waiting for me.
Hey, yeah.
Anyway, so then we get Liv Morgan versus Raquel Rodriguez. The one element that I liked about this was just having Liv, who's a much smaller human, um, than Raquel. I liked having that dynamic in the women's match because we don't see that a lot with the women's division. We mostly see that with us, Rey Mysterio versus Braun Strowman type of thing. And it's just like common with the men. But it was kind of cool to see a small woman with a big muscular woman. As weird as that might sound, but I liked the dynamic
I
there.
see you. I see the road you're going down.
Yeah, so I thought that was cool. But I'm kind of, so like the match was whatever. Obviously Raquel wins. Liv did her darndest, but I feel kind of sad that we're at this point with Liv where I feel like it was just such a dramatic downfall from when she won the championship. Like, everyone was hyped when she won. And then it was just like so progressively downhill since then. And now I feel like, okay, what is she doing? Like, she's just doing these random matches, but she is going to be the number one the number one spot in the Royal Rumble. Do you think she's winning the Rumble? I feel like she can't.
Bingo bango, hit him with a drumstick.
No, see,
I
I feel she can't.
absolutely
She
think
just
she.
won Money in the Bank.
So what? Make
But
it the
like,
year of Liv. Who cares? You just said
well,
it. The SmackDown's women's division is trash right now.
I
So
know,
just
but
build her up, like, and they're absolutely doing this where you have the backstage segment to set up the match with her and Rocky. And first off, I have to get this out there because this really PO'd me. Why the fuck is Maxine Dupree just hanging out in the backstage? Like, you're not gonna fight. You're not
no,
getting
I
in the
know.
ring.
But was that Maxine? Because there's another girl that looks just like
No,
her.
it was Maxine.
Are you
I know
sure?
for a fact.
Okay. No, I thought that was too. I was like, would Emma really be like chilling backstage with Maxine? Like,
Yeah, very bizarre. Very bizarre.
and then also Raquel comes in to like defend Liv, and then Liv slaps her. I'm just like, where is this going?
No, that's part of it. Where
Okay.
she's a lunatic. She's like, she is the hardcore. She's kind of going in that Harley Quinn type of role where
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
pray violence, and she went that way because she lost the title because she wasn't extreme enough, and that was the only way she could lose to Ronda. So that's what's gonna get her the next level where she becomes champion, goes on these rampages where she just defeats everybody and has a decent title reign. And they're doing that right now with setting her up to lose all these matches because they're trying to just, all the way down as down as you can, so that when you get that moment of winning the Rumble in however fashion they do it, it's going to be that much better because you just were losing every week. And obviously, if you're going to build someone, you're not winning. You don't just win to get there. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying. I see the direction. I love it. Oh no. Yeah, it
See,
is.
okay, so Sarah, they're married? I didn't know they were married. Well, that's unfortunate. They were together for a long time, but whatever. I'll just have to move on to one of my other 800 love interests, but it is what it is.
Didn't she?
Yeah. Yeah, that's one. Anyway, so then we moved on to another, I'm not sure how I feel about it, backstage segments with Sonya Deville talking to Adam Pearce, demanding that she get a rematch for the title against Charlotte. Adam Pearce kept saying, no, like, you literally just lost. You're at the back of the line. It's no different than if Charlotte had lost to Ronda, whatever. And then that's it. But then we come back from commercial and we see that Charlotte in a pink Superman looking onesie outfit is fighting Sonya. And I have to say, I felt very awkward watching this. I did not think they did a very good job at selling that. I didn't like it. I just felt like it went on for too long. It was so awkward. I just felt so uncomfortable, like secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah, some of those they just don't. They don't.
Because like Charlotte being like, I'm done, and it's like she's very clearly like standing there because she knows that she's supposed to take a spot from like Sonya jumping over the thing, and then it was like even when she threw Sonya over that like metal thing, it was just like not good because Sonya like launched herself, and you could just tell that it was her launching herself. I was just like, you guys could have done a bit of a better job at doing this. Maybe this is why we don't see the women fight backstage because they can't like make it look good. I don't know, but I was like, I like that, but
yeah,
it was just it wasn't good in my opinion. But
no bueno.
Also, I mean, I understand Sonya's motivation, but I feel like I would be more interested in that, and I would be able to look past the awkwardness, I guess, of it if it was an actual genuine feud and like added to the story. This was just her trying to beat her up because she's like, I want to make her angry, so she gives me a match. And it's like, why would she do that? Like, out of spite, she's not going to give you a match. Like,
yeah,
I don't know, just a weird moment. But anyway, then we get into the main event: Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. And I felt like this was I know I kind of miss his old theme song.
I was gonna ask you while we were talking about it. Do you think when he gets back into, not the bloodline, we get Drunk Uncle Sammy again?
I hope so because I hate his current theme.
I'm not a fan of it. Like, the man needs to just dance around. It's awesome.
Well, because I feel like it just feels like something that someone did on GarageBand in like 8th grade, you know, like where it's just like they started it off with something and they're like, you know what, it'd be really cool if I just like stopped this here and like put a different song after like the first
Beat
15
drop.
seconds. Yeah, and then it just changes and it's like, what is this? Like it doesn't go together.
Yeah.
And I mean, I understand he had to change his song. This was his song, I think, when he was first doing the conspiracy theory stuff. So like it's been a while, but
Oh my god, that is a
I hope
while.
we get the, you know, I feel like that's a song that like you can't change, kind of like with Becky Lynch. Like Becky can't change her song
No,
because
you
it's like,
can't.
you know. Anyway, so I felt like there was a good back and forth between Kevin and Sammy. They're obviously very well acquainted, as we've talked about a million times. They always have good matches together. And for a little bit, Sammy got the momentum and it looked like he was, you know, closing in on getting that win. But of course, in predictable fashion, we have the Usos and Solo Sikoa show up. They
Ooh,
interfere,
no.
which then got Sammy disqualified. And they did then progress to beat up Kevin Owens. And Sammy was visibly bothered.
Yeah, he was
Um,
sad. He was a sad boy.
But you know what? I think it's again, it's deeper. He's wondering what Roman is going to think about it. He's gonna wonder like, Roman's gonna think that I asked them to come here, or they don't think that I
Oh, you
can
think
actually get the
that?
job.
Yeah,
They don't
that's
think I
where
can
I'm
get the
going.
job done. What is Roman gonna do? Like, is he gonna be upset about this? Like, you know, is he gonna think I'm trying to be him? And this is what we've talked about this before. He's so good at selling, like being believable in those subtle moments. It was like you genuinely believed him and could tell, like the Usos trying to cheer him up and like assure him that it was okay. It just felt so believable. And Sammy is just so good at just being like, okay, yeah, yeah, like, but yeah, I don't know. I don't
You didn't
know.
think it
I
was
don't know.
he felt bad that they just beat up his KO for no reason
No,
and
no.
okay.
I mean, I don't think he cares. He was just about to win. I think it was more about the fact that, oh, you have to think about earlier in the night when Paul was like, oh, yeah, Roman sent them home because he was like, yeah, you can do this. Like, you don't need their help. Like, you've got this. You got Kevin. And then he was like, okay, so I'm going to do this alone. I'm going to prove to the tribal chief that I can do this by myself.
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to make it up to him for losing the tag
Mhm.
match by beating Kevin by myself and then like asserting my dominant role once again in the bloodline, and then by the Usos and Solo coming out to then it makes it seem like they didn't believe that he could actually get it done. And so then he's questioning himself, and then it's going to be like, did Roman tell them to come out here?
Yeah.
Like, does he not think I can do it? You know, or did they decide that on their own? And how's Roman going to take it? So there's a
Yeah.
lot of layers there.
There are a lot of layers to that, which I like now is that it's giving the audience something to talk about, giving us something to talk about here. And I even think of what you said of, oh, Roman will think that they just came and I called them out of nowhere. I didn't even think
Mm-hmm.
of that because it's like, oh, I thought he went that way. But that's a really interesting point that because Sammy's such a, you know, I don't want to say simp, but he is like, the adopted child in the
Yeah.
family where it's just like he just wants to be loved and there's no ulterior
The
motives.
redheaded stepchild.
It literally at this
I
point.
know. I
And
know.
and now it's like, all right, Roman's had enough and he wants to end things, but he's just blissfully ignorant, just ignorance is bliss for him. So he's just all in on the good. Like, how could they ever possibly turn on me
Yeah.
because I'm so in? Look what I did for them at War Games. Look what I've done for them to keep his titles. So that is going to just make that payoff so much sweeter when it happens.
Yeah. I'm really excited. And we're seeing a lot of these seeds planted, and I think that I think it's going to continue to happen. It's going to be slow because obviously it's Mania season, but Mania is still what? Is it in April this year?
Yeah, I
Cuz
think so.
last year I think it was at the end of March.
No,
So
it
it's
is in
still cool.
April. It's my cousin's wedding weekend.
Oh, okay. So it's still quite a ways away. So I
Yeah.
feel like they would have to wait for their first like let's say it's Sammy versus Roman for the titles. They have to wait till Mania for that. Like they can't have it be a rematch, you know. Um
Mhm.
you want it to be good the first time. So,
Oh, I
so
agree.
that was SmackDown.
That was SmackDown. And I'm
Mhm.
gonna open a little Sarah, I'm getting actually some interference, galactic interference. I want to talk about my WWE 2K guy. That's right, because you mentioned it the other day on the show how it's like why wouldn't you incorporate the stream stuff? And Sarah, it's
Mhm.
great minds think alike like that because I am at some point going to be doing that with the Twitch stream on the Nonsense Sports Network. That is in the works. I give transparency with my peeps, so I'll let you know that's in the works. So keep on the lookout for that. We'll have 2 YouTube channels with content stuff. Like we're just content up the yazoo. I'm excited. But no, why I'm giving an update on this because my guy is on SmackDown, Sarah.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I was like, all right, well, that's how we can connect to the show because I'm the connector of worlds. Bray might be the eater of worlds. I'm the connector of worlds. So I want to give a little update. We'll start doing this until I get traded to Raw, and then the rewind will have some galactic interference. So I just ended a little storyline with Drew Gulak. I went to
Okay.
Drew Gulak School of Wrestling,
Is he still
where
around?
he's in NXT. He's in NXT
Okay.
doing something with see, all right, because I only watch NXT to like see the big names coming up. I don't
Mhm.
know everyone yet, and there's
Yeah.
this guy that was just signed, but he worked for them as something or he was in whatever,
Mhm.
and he's like really raw talent, and I think they had Drew Gulak with him.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, thank you, David. So I had that feud with him, and my guy's a high flyer. Like I made him the complete opposite of me. His name is Nonsense. He's a masked luchador. Finishing move, obviously Canadian Destroyer.
Mhm.
Which no, we'll gotta think of a better name for the gimmick. I don't know where he's from yet. I forget, but it's like a galaxy far, far away or something like that. I was in NXT and held the NXT title and the North American. I'm currently the Intercontinental Champion.
Woohoo.
Pretty cool. Beat Big E in that
Oh,
match. That
wow.
was awesome.
Okay.
Uh, and now we're on SmackDown currently, and this is if anyone sees my tweet or saw my tweet from earlier, at Pet_Pitts, follow me. I said that they need to bring back the mixed match challenge. And I wanted your
Mhm.
thoughts on this, Sarah, for the show,
Mhm.
because this is definitely something that if it got going again, I know I would be in it, but I have a very good inkling that you would be also in it as well.
I felt like it brought some really interesting storylines from it. I mean, I think one of the biggest ones that I remember is I'm not like a big fan of his, but I liked the pairing of Braun with Alexa because it
Me
was just like the polar opposites of each other, and I felt like that was a really fun time during that whole series that they were
Yeah,
doing. So I feel like it could be interesting. Especially because we've talked about how many more factions and stuff are being put together. So I feel like there are some really interesting pairings that they could have. Um, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that's something that we see at some point. I feel like, you know, it's hard because we haven't seen Triple H. Like Triple H hasn't even been doing this for a year.
I know.
So it's like it's really difficult to predict like what is he like? Like what are kind of his quirks that we're gonna figure out eventually the way we did with Vince. And that could be something. Yeah, David says team little big.
Team Little Big was
um
incredible.
yeah, so it'll be interesting if he does bring back that kind of thing because we did see, he brought war games up to
Oh
Raw
yeah.
and SmackDown. So it's possible that something like that will be brought back if he really liked it too.
What if? So the point, of the end goal of the Mix Max Challenge in the game
Mhm.
is you get to be co-GM for a night on your show.
Okay.
What if they like? That's a great way to initiate some feuds or even add another layer to a feud too. For instance, so the whole point of why Nonsense is in this match anyways is because Jimmy Uso got hurt and now I have to team with Naomi. So in
Mhm.
this galaxy, the Nonsense galaxy, Naomi did not walk out of the company. She thrived and is currently in the Mix Max Challenge with me, where I'm interested to see, and I'll give an update whenever. But what happens next with, like, if I win, do I become GM and do I start feuding with the Uso? Like, it's gonna be interesting. I'm excited for that. But yeah, I should definitely stream. Let me know. I would love to. I'm planning on at some point streaming WWE and doing that, but
Mhm.
I wanted to do a character that one I can use for the NWF, but two to what?
What if we were a tag team?
Yeah, I
What
could
if you
do that in the
created
NWF.
me? But I have to be
Yeah.
women's champion at some point too, obviously.
Well, yeah, I could definitely put you in the NWF and we can have you do something. And yeah, I mean, that'd be great. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's, yeah, we'll do that. That's going to be sweet. We
Mhm.
may, oh, what if they, okay, we got some plans. Let us know what you want to see from this dynamic duo, what our tag team name would be. You know, what do you want to see with this, streaming thing? Because I'm all ears. That's what the champ does. He hears from the peeps, listens to the peeps, and does what the peeps want. And I want to thank you, peeps, for tuning into this little breakdown, Smackdown breakdown live stream.
Mhm.
And we're got the Raw Rewind on Tuesday this week. We did record our podcast, which is on Apple and Spotify. Go check that out, Pitts and Sara's Wrestling Podcast, where we discussed our dream matches this week.
Mhm.
With everything going on with the AEW and WWE and the merger potentially, what we were like, let's make some dream matches ourselves. And I came up with a nice running list. We're going to keep going. I even added one to the list tonight. So go check that out because that was a really fun episode. And then check out the clips from it on Sarah's YouTube channel.
Yep.
So it's at Sarah Marshall XO.
Yes.
All right. So that's where you go and find all our clips. Got a lot of if you don't have time to watch the whole thing, well, we spliced it up for you because that's what we do. We're here for the peeps. So follow and do us a favor and follow us on Twitter at @pet_pits, like I said, at smarshxo, and then on Instagram follow me on at pitsy35 because I love putting stories up. I don't know what it is, but the reposting of stories to yours, it's just, I don't know, it's a nice little feature. So go check those
Yeah.
out. Anything else you'd like to add, Sarah, before we conclude?
Nope.
Nice. All right. Sarah has nothing else to say. Thank you guys for tuning in. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We'll see you on Tuesday.